I want your calls on this. Are cyclists out of control? What do you think? 0207 862 2222 is the number that you need. Now look, around 200 cyclists have been caught on camera, there they are, jumping red lights at rush hour in a space of just 60 minutes. But this year, just 284 have been fined for running a red light. It's become an increasingly popular choice of transport, particularly among big cities. And though pedestrians and drivers complain of reckless behaviour, cyclists are far more likely to be killed than to kill themselves. Let's start off by who's a cyclist here? Narinder, do you cycle?
Sometimes I cycle.
Cycle? Charlie?
I have cycled, but yes.
I remember having cycled.
I have
once.
cycled, but yes, not now, or
okay.
not so much.
So what do you think? Are cyclists
London.
out of control?
Well, I live in London. I hope Jeremy's not watching, but sometimes when I'm crossing a road, they're going faster, like they're in an Olympian race, than the car. And the amount of times I've nearly been swept off my street, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, he nearly knocked me over. I think they need to calm down a little bit. They're going so fast. And those e-scooters, are they? Oh my goodness! I was in a walk in the park, and they're like.
I mean, they're a whole different thing, and we'll get stuck into which ones are road legal and which ones are not. But are cyclists, do you think, Charlie, particularly in urban areas, are they out of control? Are we seeing a particular type of lawlessness coming from cyclists that is now becoming dangerous?
In urban areas, I think we are actually. In rural areas, not so much.
Yeah.
But I think if you take big cities, and that picture there in London, and clearly in a super cycle highway, as that looks to me.
That is the super. That's by the river. You can see the London Eye in the back. Big red light. Everyone's going through it.
And that is unacceptable, clearly. And
why do you think that's unacceptable, by the way? Because I like people are cycling and not using the car.
Because they're going through red lights. That's why it's unacceptable.
Sorry, the red light. Sorry, okay, yes, sorry.
There is a fear. So if you're a pedestrian, you fear the cyclist, as I do as well. But if you're a cyclist, you fear the motorist because of the. But I think there is a. I'm pro-cycling. It's for all the health benefits, for all the environmental benefits. But I think these highways were built in the wrong way. I think they could have been built in a sort of slimmer, more narrow path, so you have more single-file traffic rather than cyclists overtaking cyclists, jumping through red lights, putting pedestrians at risk. There is a thing in London, obviously, and probably other cities. We have a need for speed to get to where we want to be. And therefore, people who jump red lights, that is totally wrong, totally unacceptable. Yeah. But broadly, cycling should be safe and should be encouraged.
OK, so looking at solutions to this, some people have put forward the idea that all bicycles should have some sort of identification number, whether that's a license plate or something, so that actually if you put a camera and they go past, those people can be identified and later fined. Would you be supporting that?
Yes, because we need to have road safety. This can't just be about always penalising drivers of cars. We've got to have road safety. And if these cyclists are jumping a red light, as you say, that's not acceptable. So I think if they had a registration plate, we can fine them. Registration
for cyclists. Yeah. Charlie, would you support that?
I just don't think it will work because, you've got to have a registration registered to someone else. You can't just hop on a bike and there's a registration number. And particularly if you're on
it works the same as a car. It has an identification registration number. You'll get a letter saying you jumped a red light. Was it you riding it? You have to, if you're the owner of the bicycle, if you like.
Yeah, but then you've got to register the bicycle in order to, which we don't have that system in place. But particularly if I was on a what used to be called the Boris bikes or an e-bike of some kind.
But they are identifiable.
Well, but by the time I've jumped through a red light, let's say, and then parked up the bike and the next person has hopped on, you don't know who's going to get caught because you're just looking at the registration of the bike rather than the individual.
You've got the timestamp, you know who's renting it at the time.
But then how can you find, you're not going to find me because...
Well, how have you paid for it?
Well, I would have paid by a
card.
By a card,
but I don't
through your app.
Well,
and you're identifiable.
But the police don't have access to my bank account, and nor should they.
And
nor is that linked to a home address.
Oh, Charlie, you haven't been watching some spy films.
It wouldn't be linked to address. But I do think there should be other road traffic measures like speed bumps or things like, just to make those
how do you stop them jumping red lights?
It is also important to say, let's not be too hypocritical here, that plenty of people, I'm sure, have crossed the road when there has been the red man saying do not cross because they've looked left and right and thought actually it's safe to cross and I will do so. I cannot even count the number of people that I've seen overtake cyclists not leaving the 1.5 metre legally required distance when you're overtaking cyclists. So let's not just pretend that it's just the cyclists that are breaking the rules on the roads. But let's speak to Hilary, who's in North Yorkshire. Hilary, welcome to the show. Do you think that cyclists are out of control?
Well, yes, in York I do. I don't.
What's happening in York?
Well, York's very much a cycling city.
Yeah.
They ride all over the pavements. You've got to watch yourself with that. But then 5 years ago, when I was going to work at the morning, I was on my way. I was passing. I stood at the top of Wendell, heading for the hospital where I worked. Thank goodness. And I waited for the green man, circle cross, got 3 steps into the road, and this guy comes pedalling so fast. He had no control. The bike was leaning that much to one side, and he rammed straight into me.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
And we were both then sprawled all over the floor. People were coming up to see if I was okay and get me up. And in the meantime, he took a look around, got back on his bike and pedalled off furiously.
Oh.
And I ended up in A&E.
Oh.
He didn't break my arm, but he did lacerate it very badly. My clothes were all torn, and I had my arm bandaged up for 2 weeks.
Oh, that's
I'm
awful,
sorry to hear that,
That's
Hilary.
terrible.
And again, going back to the licence plates, which I know the arguments against them being unworkable and difficult and throwing more legislation and paperwork doesn't often solve things. But Hilary would have been able to identify that person.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear about that particular case, and you would have hoped that there's enough CCTV around in York, of which I was a student, by the way, so I know York particularly well.
Did you feature heavily on their CCTV?
I do believe I do. Certainly not as a cyclist, anyway.
Right. Hilary, I'm so sorry that happened to you, but thank you for kicking us off, and I hope you've made a full recovery. Leo is with us from London. Leo, welcome to the show. Are you a cyclist?
Yes.
Have you jumped a red light?
Admittedly, sometimes I've had to, but basically what I wanted to say
Hang on, Leo. Why did you have to jump a red light?
So basically, I had an exam, and I know that's not an excuse, but the thing is as well, is that when there's big buses parked in front of you, and you can't, and you're behind it, and you can't actually even see the traffic light.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to guess in your mind and say it's about to go off. Otherwise, I'm caught in the middle of.
Leo, I'm no expert, but I don't think any of those excuses would get you out of a fine. But go on. What do you think when you see cyclists running red lights as a cyclist yourself?
Yeah. I think. It's all about context, as I said. I don't know if you've ever been behind a bus, but they're so wide you can't actually see anything. And if you're behind a bus and you need to get to the front of the traffic queue, which you're supposed to do because cyclists are supposed to go first, how are you supposed to guess when that light's going off? And if you stay still, the drivers are beeping behind them sometimes.
No, I understand what he's saying, because
I
he's saying
don't.
that he's got to
I'm
get...
confused.
Because he's entitled to be the front of the,
the
light, but then he can't see because the bus is so wide.
But you don't have to run a red light. You can stop and have a look at the light, and if it's red, you stop.
But then he's going a speed to get to the front, and then he sees it's red. He can't see if it's red or green.
Again, I would not take that chance of running a red light, not to be getting caught, but because of traffic coming the other way. But Leo, thank you.
I hope the exam was worth it.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to stand up.
Doctor's exam.
I don't think it's going to stand up.
What
in
about
court.
doctors?
No, I hope not. Thank you, Leo. Thank you all for your calls.